that graduation date after you walk that stage from high school up until the point where I'm at now, which is 22. You know who you are, but you don't. And you're starting to see those changes within yourself. Always being the yes man, always acknowledging my friends' bullshit. I always was able to have a vision to sense things out prior to things happening. But because I didn't believe myself, because I didn't trust myself, because I wasn't taught to stand firm in who I am and who I believe myself to be, I would deny myself of certain accesses. I would deny myself of certain things. And I feel like sometimes that's where society fails young women. They tell us to show up as this person, to deny our intuition, to deny what God's telling us, honestly, and be who they want us to be. "22 and still growing." A poem from myself to you, from the deepest parts of my heart to your screen. This episode is going to be more of like a one-on-one conversation with myself with the camera. Just me learning to see myself on camera, me learning to express myself, and me learning to find different outlets for myself in healthier ways. 22 feels like standing in the hallway between who I was and who I am becoming. Some days I feel unsure of myself. Other days I feel like I'm still learning how to hold my own hand. Life after high school did not unfold the way that I imagined. It stretched me, it humbled me, slowed me down. Friendships shifted, my faith shifted, even the way I see myself shifted. But in every change, something in me kept whispering, "Keep growing." This episode wasn't planned, neither was the growth. And yet here I am, here we are, learning how to become again and again. So if you're listening, settle in. This is not a perfectly edited story. This is me trusting myself enough to tell the truth. With God on my side, I'd like to introduce you. Welcome to 22 and still growing. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, or at least beginning with who I thought I was going to be. Because when I think about the last few years, especially after high school, I just realized how much I was moving off of assumptions. Assumptions about adulthood, about success, about being rich, about friendships, and about becoming who I'm meant to be. And it's funny because nobody prepares you for that weird in-between space of life between that graduation date after you walk that stage from high school up until the point where I'm at now, which is 22. You're technically grown, but emotionally you're still stuck in that spot where you know who you are, but you don't. And you're starting to see those changes within yourself. And during those moments, you can choose whether or not you actually want to look into those changes, look into those reminders that keep popping in your head, like, hey, you should probably look into this, or hey, you should probably figure out why you feel this way, or hey, you should probably look at who your friends are, or how your family's treating you, or whatever your situation is. My expectations of what I thought life was going to be versus reality. And I can say it's very far off. I personally thought by now I would have graduated from college with my RN to be either my RN or have my BSN. I expected myself to be living in a high-rise apartment in Minneapolis with like 2 luxury cars, and also to have my friends by my side from high school, and the person that I was madly in love with in high school to still be by my side at the time. I expected all of us to be still together, friends and everything. And I honestly didn't think that podcasting or even me wanting to put myself on camera would be something that I wanted to do or I expected of myself. But I can say as time shifted, and I believe it was right after I think it was my sophomore year of college, and I realized, like, hey, like, my friends aren't who they say they are. I'm not who I say I am. Life is not what I thought it was, and I keep going around these circles of denial. I was in this really big denial for a long time, trying to figure out like, hey, like who am I? High school up until adulthood, it put me like in a really weird in between, where I'm feeling like I have to show up as this individual. I have to express myself in this certain way. I have to say certain things to get people's attention, to be the likable girl, basically. And this pressure to have things already figured out by now, it's actually a huge reality shift, because I really thought that by like 22, 23, I would have at least 2 kids already and be married and living in a big house out of the States. And I'm happy that I'm not married yet or have kids, because I'm still a child myself. I'm still learning who I am and what it is I like and how I like to show up in the world. And it's really funny, because I feel like if I would have had a kid by now, if I would have been married by now, I probably would have been one of those ladies who would have blamed their child or blamed their husband for not reaching after all their goals and ambitions and aspirations in life. And that's just my perspective of knowing who I am and how I can be sometimes. And I would hate to blame somebody else for the actions that I did not decide to take for myself. So me being in this position right now, being a social media personnel and a podcaster, and learning how I want to present myself in the real world, behind the scenes, and onto my fan bases, it's going to take time for that. It's going to take time for me to grow. It's going to take time for me to shed old habits. And it's also going to take time for me to figure out exactly who I want to be and how I can become her. Not in a sense where I'm rushing or I'm confused or I'm doing things out of what I believe people expect of me, but doing it because it's what I desire and it's what Blessing wants all along. And a lot of that really showed up in my relationships, especially friendships. So when it comes to friendships, some of the expectations that I believe that I had from ages 17 to 18 to now was to be the friend, the likable friend, the one who's always there for people, the one who's always overextending herself, the one who feels like she has to show up to her friend's birthday party super, super early just to prove that she's a good friend, while already gifting her friend a huge, expensive gift, while using her last dollars to arrive to the party and supply people rides to places and giving them bottles and weed and, all of those things. And honestly, it's just like, all of those moments strained me. All of those moments made me feel as if that those were what made me a good friend. Always being the yes man, always acknowledging my friends' bullshit. When they would drag me through their crazy, when they would drag me through their crazy ass situations, I just stuttered so hard, because it's like, it still triggers me. Some of those things that happened still trigger me, because it's like, dang, I really was a lot smarter than them. And that's no shade to anybody, but I minimize myself and let myself be belittled so I can feel like I can fit into this group of friends, because I felt like those are the only people who could show up for me, or those are the only people that I could actually have in my corner. But when you're living in like a really small mindset and you have learned how to minimize yourself and just be that flexible and stretchy friend, person, sister, whatever, for other people, you tend to feel like that's the only way you can show up. You tend to feel like that's the only way you can garner attention. And you tend to feel like that's the only way people will love you and care about you. And what I can say from speaking from my 17-year-old self to my 22-year-old self when it comes to friendships, 22-year-old me now, I've understand and I've been practicing the law of detachment. When it comes to friends and expecting all of these outcomes for friends, for relationships, for meeting people that you see online in person, all of those experiences aren't always what you expect them to be. They can be good or bad. And you have to be comfortable with things not always going your way. You have to expect things to kind of go bad at times. Always expect the best, but prepare for the worst. And when people used to tell me that, I was like, why would I want to prepare for the worst? But life is unpredictable. You can always plan out as far as you want to, but sometimes things just come along the way that you don't expect. When it came to growing apart from my friends when it came to doing it without it being something that causes drama. That's been something so hard, but so rewarding I've been practicing, because time after time, I would always think that I would always have this feeling like, hey, like I'm actually not connected with this person anymore. Hey, I actually don't feel the same way about you anymore. Hey, we've never aligned. We only aligned off of superficial things. And because of that, I always felt like that would cause drama. I was always afraid of, hey, like if I cut this friend off, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to argue. And it's because, again, that's what I've been comfortable with. That's what not comfortable with, but that's what I've been taught is the way to go about ending relationships and friendships. It always has an end in a fiery, burning crash, but it doesn't. And I feel like because I've been learning that more and I've been taking the time to understand myself and watching a lot of self-help videos and really just talking to myself and reflecting on my own experiences, because I only know me best, I've come to the conclusion that drama is not necessary. Cutting off people without drama is it's not even in the books. It was never in that. I feel like Hollywood has always like dramatized people's lives and made us believe that we had to be dramatic and be extra and, have these crazy, fiery ending of breakups and friendships. But I feel like because of those situations, you tend to garner this mindset of being like afraid, and you have this chaos energy in you, and you tend to believe that if I don't have this fiery crash burn, then there's no other way around it. And again, I'm speaking, all of these experiences that I'm speaking of are from my own personal experiences of what I've endured and where my mind has been at. And it's been a lot of maturing on my end and having to slow down and see things for what they are and seeing people for who they are the first time. I tend to have this dynamic where, and I'm going to call it people pleasing because that's literally what it is. I tend to, in the past, be this person who would see the red flags right away, but would deny them instantly because in the past I've been judged based off my character too quickly. So because of that, I'm like, I like kind of made this internal vow to myself, like, hey, like I'm not gonna judge this person too quickly because I don't want to be wrong, or I don't want to miss on the opportunity of having a friend, or I don't want to miss on the opportunity of having a relationship. But that's where you always go wrong, because when you tend to push all of those things to the side and say, hey, I see this about this person, I feel this about this person, you have your woman's intuition screaming at you, telling you, hey, like this person's danger, this person could possibly do this, that, and the third. You have these thoughts, but you're so subjected to this mindset of like always giving people a chance and always being there for people and always understanding people and always giving people second, third, fourth, fifth, 20 chances. You miss out on the opportunity to want to grow without, or to outgrow people without it being a conflict. And I feel like something that people don't understand is when you outgrow people who you didn't really align with or grow with, that's been something that's been super hard for me, honestly. Having to realize that my friends aren't my friends anymore, and not gonna say that I'm better than them, but I've surpassed where we used to be and what the things that we used to do. Certain things just aren't my niche anymore, and it was hard to let go of those moments and those memories because you've been with them for so long. And when you invest so much time and energy into things for such a long time and things don't turn out the way you want to, it hurts you so bad. But that pain is always that new seed that's planted to help you grow. And I feel like the analogy or the statement of saying that pain comes with growth or growth is painful, I always thought that was BS, because I'm like, what do you mean growth is painful? Like, why would it be painful? But I've learned just from sitting with my own, experiences and my own trauma, I'm like, damn, like this shit is painful, but it's also really helpful for me. It's really beneficial for me. And it's actually making me see things wiser and just making me want to plan better steps for my future and create a better foundation for myself where I'm more comfortable with certain things and I'm not putting myself in the same predictable situation. Another thing is realizing that I haven't fully aligned with all the people who are meant to be my life long term yet. And that is okay. That is another thing that I feel like for the longest I didn't understand, because it's like, for me, I think that's with anything with humans in general, is when you have friends or when you're getting to know and meet people, you see some similarities within them, and you tend to think like, hey, like these people are like me. And for me, I'm looking for my own community. I'm looking for people who are like-minded, people who are outgoing, people who are courageous, people who are understanding of themselves and respect themselves and honor themselves and have values and do not degrade themselves, obviously. And I feel like because of that, I've tend to pick through people's personalities and pick out certain characteristics that I felt best aligned with me and who I am, that I would sit back and, just be like, okay, well, they have this certain personality, so I'm going to take that and make that their whole personality and believe that's who they are and deny everything else that I see. And I feel like I'm going to call this thing called the veil of disbelief. That's what I'm going to call it. Because there would be moments where I would have all these high expectations for friends and have all these ideas of who they are in my mind, and creating all these fantasies of what we could be and how this friendship could go, or how this relationship could go. And it's like, I'm always denying those true factors of who they are. And I can't blame myself for that, but I have to respect what I'm seeing and respect them, that's who they are, whether they're good or bad. I have to learn how to not force this fantasy reality of who people are in my mind, but what they're showing me. And that's been something that's been truly hard, because again, when you're a girl who just wants to connect with people and just wants to find her crowd, you tend to overlook things, and you tend to feel like, hey, you're not doing all it is that you can do to find those people, or you're just sitting there questioning like, dang, when is it going to be my time to meet my crowd? And I feel like because of all those painful friendships and those crash burning endings, they've humbled me to the point where it's better for me to take my time. It's okay to be alone, and it's okay to be in my solitude, to be able to grow and understand myself better, so I can better align with people who are actually for me and actually care about me. And the same thing with being okay with quieter seasons occasionally. It's okay to have quieter seasons. And I feel like the first time I really went into isolation was in 2022. Like, we had moved out to a pretty far city. I was living with my mom at the time, and we were on this farm, and there was nothing but cornfields, white folks, police stations, and raggedy Cub Foods. Yeah, it was raggedy. And I felt like, because at that time, I had moved out so far, my friends weren't really wanting to drive out to me. They weren't really wanting to see me, and it was understandable, but at the same time not, because I would still drive out to see them. So it kind of hurt that they wouldn't want to see me. So I just took it as, okay, well, this is a time to just kind of reflect on who I am and where I've been. And I had went through my first identity crisis in when I was 19. It was actually insane. I was just sitting there, and I started to realize everything, this whole persona of who I created to be, the blessing that I thought I was then was never who I was. And it was scary, because I had to see myself in the mirror, and I was like, holy shit, this whole time I've been playing a character. This whole time I've been presenting myself on social media, especially as this girl who is the outgoing girl and the party girl and the super hyped girl, and the one that you always see at every single event, has a big smile on her face and has her makeup done and just looks super pretty. And and it was all superficial things, basically. And I didn't really know who I was. I thought that I was kind of this loud and super extroverted, vibrant, high energy girl. And don't get me wrong, I am that person at times, but I'm really an introvert. And it was hard for me to realize that. I was like, holy, I'm actually an introvert. I'm actually not as outgoing as I thought I was. And I'm outgoing around the right people. But even that is just the times where I would act out and be that blessing from high school, it came with a lot of strains on my energy, on my time, on my mental, on my focus. And it was affecting who I was evolving to be, and my spiritual relationship at that time was beginning to change as well too. And that's where I feel like that isolation period really brought in my connection with God even more and the universe. Whichever you believe in, I believe in God is a higher source, a higher power, the universe. And I feel like even changing my whole perspective of like what I believe God to be and who I believe God to be and how I thought, I was supposed to be. And I feel like for me growing up, at least, not going to get into too many details, but I can say like religion was something that was heavily pushed upon me, and I truly didn't understand the significance of it at the time. And it's kind of hard growing up in a society where, especially like being West African, like sometimes you don't understand certain things about the Bible, or you don't understand certain things about your religion. And when you have elders who are not willing to educate you on what it is they're teaching you, but they're just following what it is other people are telling them, you're stuck in this really in between space where it's like, hey, okay, so this is who I've been told I am. This is who I've been told I have to show up as. But when I ask questions that are outside of the box of what they've told me, I'm a problem. I'm causing conflicts. I'm turning the tables. I'm, being a rude child is what I was called, because I'm asking questions because I'm confused. I don't know who I am. I'm curious. I'm wanting to learn more. But because everything that you're telling me, you're going against what you're telling me too. So it's this like weird continuous cycle of back and forth of who am I? No, I'm this person because I was told that. But I want to question this, but don't do too much because it's scary. But if I question, I could possibly be pushed out of my community and subjected and all those things. And it was just like, I feel like at that point I was willing to take the risk. I was like, why not just take the risk? Why not just know and see and just check out what it is? What else is there more outside in the world that I don't already know? Like, why not just take that leap of faith and just see what's on the other side? Kind of like the movie, what was that movie called? The Giver. Oh, that movie's so perfect. A perfect example. Living in this strict ruled society of being told what to do, how to do certain things, why you should do certain things, how you should show up. But when you don't do it, you get pushed to the side. You get ridiculed. You get told, why are you asking so many questions? Why are you so curious? Why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just be this way that I want you to be? But why should I? Why would I? Why would I want to do that to myself? And the biggest thing that I feel like has been like the biggest reward in my life so far is learning to question everything. Learning to ask why there's so many chemicals in certain foods. Learning to ask why I've been taught to consume so much meat. Why I've been taught to consume so much media. Why am I subjected to watching certain things, like growing up watching, Bad Girls Club and Real Housewives of Atlanta and like reality TV shows. Like, why am I watching these things at such a young age, and why is nobody stopping me? Was the real question. It's been something that's been like super confusing for me, because it's like I have adults in my life and people who are supposed to be my guardians and family members and community who are teaching me to subject myself to these things, but then try to praise me and tell me to be this woman who has to be this perfect woman for this man. And I hope I'm not going on a tangent here, but it's just something that has been so confusing for me, because it's like you have people preaching to the choir about, hey, be this, do this, show up as this person. But I'm looking at your life and I'm looking at you, and you're nowhere near who you're telling me to be. But if I question what you're telling me, I'm the problem. I'm doing something wrong. So that's where I'm like, let's just be rebellious. Let's just be rebellious. And not in the rebellious way that you would think. Not in the chaotic sense where I'm going to cause harm to the world, of course, but harm to the systems and the dynamics that I've been subjected to for so long. And deconstruct my mind of what it is and who it is I'm supposed to be. And be who Blessing wants to be. And who God told her she is supposed to be. And that's where it came into building a deep relationship with God, faith, purpose, and intuition. And something I can say as well, too, is how society has subjected me and a bunch of other women into believing that we have to show up as this certain way and we have to be this certain way to get a man or to get a male's attention and to be in relationships. And I feel like that comes with intuition. I'm bringing this up because In the past, I was taught to I was taught to gaslight myself into not believing what my intuition's telling me. As a woman, having a womb, being the portal to the universe, you have that natural born intuition into yourself. You have a deeper understanding of the world more than you understand what society's told you. And for the longest, like I always had this feeling of certain things. I always was able to have a vision to sense things out prior to things happening. But because I didn't believe myself, because I didn't trust myself, because I wasn't taught to stand firm in who I am and who I believe myself to be, I would deny myself of certain accesses. I would deny myself of certain things, and I would tell myself like, oh, you don't deserve this. Oh, you don't need this. Oh, or you should settle with this person, or you should have your friends talk to you in this manner, or you should let your boss tell you these disgusting things just because you have to, because you're a woman, and because you have to be, calm, you have to be soft, you have to be gentle. And I feel like sometimes that's where society fails young women. They tell us to show up as this person, to deny our intuition, to deny what God's telling us, honestly, and be who they want us to be. And I have been doing like a lot of soul searching and figuring out exactly like who I want to be, and why my intuition is so powerful, and why I've denied myself of so much access. And I feel like in that time of doing all of that, I've been able to give myself back the joy and the pleasure to know that regardless of what I've been told, I'm always able to change my story, because I am the creator. I'm the writer of this story. Like me and God obviously co-create on this project together of my life. But the fact that I am one of the people who has the say-so to do certain things, to take certain steps to get to where I need to be, it's beautiful, honestly, and it's powerful. And I feel like it's something that I've always undermined, but now that I'm gaining this new power, and I'm seeing who I am, and I'm believing who I am to be, and trusting myself, that I feel stronger and more confident as a woman. And I know it's only going to intensify as I get older, as I get more mature, as I age like fine wine. And I'm just looking forward to that, all in all. And I feel like becoming spiritually aware in my early 20s has been probably like the most powerful thing that I have been forcing myself to do. And it's a good type of force where it's like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed and go to the gym, but I know I need to. But instead it's, oh, I know I need to be spiritually aware to what's going on and who I am and why I feel these way about certain things. And that's also led into like my perception of what health is, and seeing myself differently, and why health is so serious. I feel like when it comes to health as like seeing it as self-respect, I didn't see it like it being that powerful. Like when I talk about health, and what I was taught health was to be was having a body, like a slim body with the Coca-Cola shape, having, perky boobs, having that super straight jawline, having the butt sitting up, all of that. And yes, that does come with having a great health, depending on what your goals are for fitness. Obviously that's mine, but I can say that I was so focused on aesthetics instead of like actually how I feel, and not just like how I feel internally, but how I feel spiritually, how I feel mentally, how I feel emotionally. Like all of those things are like the driving force to how I actually can show up as my healthiest self, and how I can actually achieve my goals. Like I can say that society and also social media too has been playing like a really big impact on that. And that's something that I really had to divest myself from, and just be like, hold on, wait, let me stop, let me pump the brakes, and be like, hey, I don't think I want to just follow all these social media trends of how I should work out, how I should eat all these foods, and how I should bulk and eat all these proteins and all these other things. Like just figuring out what works for me. And I was so focused on trying to have this super petite body, and having the super straight jawline, that I wasn't realizing that there was more problems going on within. And I feel like my personal wake up call was like the first time I experienced inflammation and I started going through like adult puberty. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why am I breaking out? Like, why is my gut feeling so, like, why do I feel like the insides of me are on fire? And I'm not even gonna get into the whole TMI of that, obviously, but it's literally crazy how you could be eating certain foods for your whole life, but once you reach a certain age, you literally can't do that anymore. You literally can't, or if you do, you have to do it with a balance, and you have to find that healthy medium where you're not, stripping yourself away from what you love, but you're also not you're not eating too much of it to the point where you're getting yourself sick. And I feel like that was my biggest thing with sugar. I'm a sugar baby. I feel like I've kind of strayed away from being a sugar baby, but growing up, I was a really huge sugar baby, huge sugar fanatic, like so much candy, donuts, the cookies, the zebra cakes, you name it. Like, I was a fanatic for my sugar. But I can say that because of those habits that I had growing up and eating a lot of sugar and all those other things, like once I hit like 20, like literally like once 20 had smacked me in the face, all of a sudden all these issues are coming up. I'm like, but like I was literally just 19 yesterday and I didn't have any of these issues, so why is it happening right now? And that's where I had to start doing research and understanding, like, oh dang, like certain, like too much consumption of this can actually affect you. It can affect how you're sleeping. It can affect how you see the world, how you show up at work, how you even hang out with your friends. It's a lot of things that like subject you. And I feel like not learning how to have the healthiest relationship with myself growing up, with eating and gym and everything, and just like physical appearance and physical appearance and internal appearance, it's affected like how I am right now. But because I know that I have that power to change how I see myself or how I show up with certain things, that this is my time to change the whole trajectory of my life. Another thing I can say too is how treating your body like the temple it is, and also like reclaiming your power, creating a new spiritual and creative path for yourself that works for you. Like, example, I'm a person who enjoys seeing people who are vegan, and I do want to be vegan eventually, and that will be happening very soon. That's a goal that I'm setting out for myself, to be vegan, and not just be vegan, but understand the whole concept of actually being a vegan and why it truly matters and why I would want to take that big step. When I first heard about being vegan, it was through my older brother, and he was talking about how it changed his life, and I saw how he lost so much weight and he just looked healthier and he just looked happier. He just looked lighter. And I had never experienced that before. And I was like, you know what? I want to experience that. I want to be happy with how I see myself. I want to be healthier. I want to be lighter. I want to be more flexible. And I know all those things don't just come from just being vegan, but your diet is such a huge factor in how you show up, especially being a woman. When you have your four cycles, your 4 phases, and that was another thing too, cycle syncing. Oh my gosh, I have like so many different talking points about cycle syncing, but I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But cycle syncing, along with, I feel like being vegan is probably like the best thing you can do for yourself as a woman. Again, this is my perspective, and I say that because being vegan, you're not eating as much processed meats or all of those extra red meats, and you're not putting so much of all of those antibiotics into your body, and you're able to consume more fruits, more vegetables, like more earthly stuff that's more natural to the body. And especially being a Black woman, we're like, for us being melanated people, not to go on a tangent here, I'm just gonna drop some quick fun facts. Melanated people are supposed to be, we're carbon beings. We're supposed to have more earthy foods, like more fruits, more vegetables, more salads, more grains. Those are things that are natural to our body. And again, you can do your own research on this. This is just a quick talking point, but we're not supposed to be people who are consuming so much red meat, especially like pork and those type of things. Like, those are never meant to be foods that we're supposed to be consuming. But I feel like now that I have more research and I understand things differently, and realizing the power of like your vitamins and your minerals and your herbs, like you can really change your life in a matter of 6 months. And I would say that it's something that everybody should look into, especially as being a woman. You should learn how to cycle sync. You should know about your 4 phases, your menstrual, And just a FYI, your menstrual is the beginning of your cycle. Your menstrual starts, and then that's when your cycle starts. It's menstrual, then follicular, then it's your ovulation, then it's your luteal. Luteal is the ending of your new beginning, basically. And something else I learned too about my cycles, you're actually not supposed to bleed for over 3 days on your menstrual. You're actually supposed to be on it for about like 1 to 3, 4 days max. It's not supposed to be that long. It's not supposed to be painful. It's not supposed to be this gut-wrenching thing where your body's going through all this pain and all this shedding. Like, yes, you're supposed to shed your eggs, but it's not supposed to be painful. And again, I'm gonna make a whole video about that actually, like what society has taught us and what actually is true. Again, do your research. That's just something else I wanted to drop. But taking care of myself helped me unlock parts that I didn't even know were there, like how I am showing up right now and being this more talkative, creative person who's more analytical about her thoughts and is taking her time to figure out how she wants to articulate herself with every single conversation. I do feel like me connecting with my body more has brought me to this current moment. And it's also brought me to the idea of like learning more about my personal potential and identity building. That's something that I can say is very powerful for anybody, especially like when you're a young woman in your 20s. Don't get too caught up in friendships or relationships or jobs to the point where it sucks you dry and you quite literally tend to forget who you are and don't want to outgrow certain old identities. And that does bring me back to like the first talking points that I had when I first started this podcast episode was, outgrowing my old friends and outgrowing like old patterns and old behaviors, and realizing how when you can take the time to sit with yourself and not just not just a one-time sit with yourself, but like really sit with yourself, really understand where you're going and who you are and who you're meant to be, and changing your whole perspective on the world, you can realize the gifts that you have within. And some of the gifts that I realized I had was storytelling, creative direction, and leadership. And as time goes on, I want to better articulate myself and better storytell, because I have so many things that I want to express to the world. And I feel like this episode is like a really, really great start for myself, because I'm so excited. I'm so excited in the fact that I'm sitting here right now talking to myself and talking to you guys, and you guys are hearing my story and hearing my voice and letting it be known that like, hey, I'm here and my story matters and my purpose on this earth is way bigger than I even know. And I know that as time goes on, I'm going to get better with storytelling. I'm going to get better with my creative direction. I'm going to get better with my art direction. And I'm also going to get better at being more passionate with what it is I'm saying, but also slowing down as I speak, because I know that the more passionate I get about a certain talking point, the faster I tend to spew out words and just talk more and kind of like almost exhaust myself, because it's like I just been sitting with all of this passion within my body and it's like I don't know what to do with it. So that's been something that I've learned and something that I've had, and it's been something that's been super rewarding and honestly validating all in all, because not having to wait for this external validation and not having to wait for feeling like I need to have people to, affirm who it is I am. It's been something that I honestly never want to let go of. This feeling, I know it's only going to grow and it's only going to intensify as I mature into the woman I'm becoming. And I feel like the more conversations that I'm comfortable having with myself, whether it's on camera, behind the scenes, with friends, with family, people who I actually trust, I'm going to be able to be a bigger influencer than I expected, because my idea of influencer was, to have the luxury items, to have the brand deals. And don't get me wrong, those are things that I all desire, but I felt like that was all to it. But being a woman who can actually articulate herself, who can show up, who can show out, who can be the one who sets boundaries, the one who can stand 10 toes in who she is no matter what life throws at her, I feel like that's the most powerful woman ever. The divine feminine, to be comfortable in who she is no matter what's happening in the world, no matter who's telling her what. And I feel like this feeling of being more evolved in who I am right now, being more grounded and comfortable in my visionary aspects has been able to help me achieve my goals no matter what. But we're getting close to the ending of this episode, so I'm going to end off with a few more talking points, and we're kind of going to end it here. But now that we're like kind of halfway through the show, I want to say like this has been something that's really powerful for me, and it's been something that I've been wanting for myself for the longest, and I feel like I'm doing really well for myself. This is going to be a beautiful start to something great, and I get to see myself in the raw. I get to see myself really just being here, just talking and being free. But the last two talking points I want to talk about is learning to say no early, and my mirror effect and my magnetic attractions. So learning how to say no early has also aligned with my mirror effect, because when I sense things super early, like trusting my intuition, and I sense certain problems right away, and denying those things and denying myself the truth of who I am and how I feel and how I see things, has been something that I've had to work on, and I'm still working on how to be more consistent with that, because in the past, again, I've told myself like, hey, like you're tripping about certain things, or, oh no, you don't need to make this a bigger deal than it really is because I want to be loved or I want to be accepted. But what is it to be accepted when you're hurting on the inside because you're denying yourself the truth? And I feel like because I've done that so many times in the past, and I've hurt myself unintentionally, not knowing that, hey, like every single time I lie to myself or I deny myself of the red flags that I see with anything in life, I've put myself in this really, really weird box where I know I feel these things, but I'm not actually being honest. And it's made me attract certain things and certain people unintentionally. And I've put myself in this like weird box where sometimes I attract people who mirror my unhealed parts. And when I first heard that, I was like, are you kidding me? But I feel like that also came with the maturity aspect, because it was like, I would sit here and blame friends or partners in the past about like why they show up or why they treat me certain ways. But it's like, people are only treating me based off how I treat myself. People would only treat me based off how I respected myself. People would only, respect me the way that I respected myself. And I didn't realize how big that was. And I didn't realize how like much of like being a woman, that natural aura you have, if you're not able to if you're not really able to check your aura, if you're not really able to sit down and reflect on who you are and cleanse yourself and, journal out your thoughts, you're not always going to be able to see what you're missing, what you're lacking. And because of that, I would be in these really weird environments where I'm like, how the hell did I end up here? How did I end up with you? Why are you even like, why am I even your friend? Or why am I even why are we even in the same room? And it's not to say that I'm better than somebody, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I'm on a higher intellect than them. And I do not need to subject myself to lower qualities of people to have a friendship, just to have relationships. And I feel like realizing the quality of people over the quantity of people has been something that is one of my new models to life. And I feel like that's also brought me to this last talking point of what 22 has taught me, what I'm proud of, and what I'm still working on. What 22 has taught me is to be bold, blessing, to be brave, courageous, and keep going with what you're doing right now. Whether people are watching or not, it's still beneficial for you to create no matter what. Whether that's podcasting, whether that's you making a dance video, whether that's you reading a book and reflecting on it, whether that's you doing your makeup in fun, creative ways, you have to create no matter what. You have to show up and show up for yourself. What I'm most proud of is the fact that I've started this podcast, the fact that I started my own hair brand, Imperfected Looks, the fact that I'm creating my own art showcase right now. There's so many things that I'm proud of myself for doing. And even though I was afraid to do it, and at times I felt like who's going to listen, who's going to want to hear my story, or these different lanes that I'm wanting to be in are too saturated. It's not saturated. People need my uniqueness. That I've always been taught that, or I've always heard that, you know, with me doing what I'm doing right now, I'm actually helping and healing the world in a way that I don't realize. And I can't get into all that right now because I'm down to my last 2 minutes. But I can say that me showing up every single day as me doing my journal reflections every single day, me talking to myself, me reflecting, me eating healthier, me going to sleep on time, me just taking care of myself is healing the world in a bigger way than I don't even realize yet. But I know as I get older and as I get more mature and more wise, I will see exactly what it is I'm saying right now come into fruition. But my hopes for 23 and beyond, we'll have to pick up on that in 22 and probably still, in 23 and probably still growing. I don't really know exactly what 23 is going to hold because I'm still pretty far away from it. I have about like 8 months until I turn 23. So I still have a long ways away, and I'm still pretty fresh into what 22 is and who 22-year-old Blessing is. Because I remember this one time when I was like, I think I was like 10 years old, and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, what am I going to look like when I'm 21? And I truly didn't expect to look the way that I did. I personally thought that I was going to be looking, I don't really know how I thought I was going to be looking, but I did know I wanted a nose piercing, and I got 2 of them. So, I can say my younger self is very proud of myself, of who I am right now and the woman I've become, and how I'm expressing myself and how I'm giving myself a platform to speak, how I'm giving myself space and gratitude, and I'm showing up for myself and showing love to myself. And I'm giving my inner child that peace and that sanctuary to be able to express what she didn't get to express when she was younger. But all I can say for my closing notes is I'm going to encourage every single person to show up and show out for yourself no matter what. Whether people are watching or not, you need to reflect, you need to talk to yourself, you need to set up a camera or go outside and just dance in the rain or do something that you love and be that person who you want to be, and don't let people subject you to who you believe that you have to be. Always be proud of yourself for all of the little things that you're doing, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, you only have you. You came into this world by yourself, and you're going to leave this world by yourself. And I would hate for you, speaking to my future self and to the viewers and the listeners, I would hate for you to be on your deathbed at whatever age that is, and you're thinking about all the things that you could have done. I'm going to be that woman who flies across the different countries, does podcasts in different countries, has friends in different countries, tries out different foods and different places. And I'm not going to regret it because I said so and because I want this for myself. But I feel so much better now this episode's ending than how it started. But all in all I can say is thank you guys so much for listening to my episode. Thank you so much for just listening to me be in the raw and reflecting about who I am and who Blessing is becoming, because she is beautiful. She is great, she's magnificent, and she's only going to keep flourishing no matter what life throws at her, because she's going to stand 10 toes down in who she is, what she believes, and who she aspires to be. Because why? Because God said so, and because she can literally be whoever she wants. She is one of the co-creators and the writers of her life, and she is a significant person, and she is powerful to this world, and she's playing a bigger part than she realizes. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. Please leave your reviews on this episode. If you're watching the visuals on YouTube, please leave in the comments what you love. What was your favorite part about the video? Your favorite quotes that I said, or what you related to. If you listen to the audio version on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a review of the podcast down below after you listen to this episode, and listen to some of my other episodes as well. This is episode 3 of Post-A-Thon. This was a really significant and powerful episode for myself. And I'm blessed, I'm grateful, and I hope you guys are too. With that being said, your girl's tuning out. See you guys for episode 4. Bye.